But what is my one question for you today when you're thinking about the promise and the potential of the future you? Are you making it easy for people to choose you? Do they see your promise? Do they understand your potential? So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about this idea of the promise and the potential of the future you. And I know you're all like, wait, what? Let me back up a second. And I'm going to say the sentence that you've all heard me say multiple times before, but I'm going to keep saying it until everybody is awesome. Every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in. Every single conversation you are having with people, they are deciding whether they want to play with the future you or not. And so when you're thinking about that conversation in a room that you are not in, they are sitting there going, yes or no? Are you the person or are you not the person? I'm going to start with that because we're going to come back to it at the end because it's critically important. Although I will say, like, the only people who don't do that with you are your parents because they made you and they made a decision when that happened way back when, and they generally don't get out of that decision. Everybody else, do make it in a room that you're not in. And here is my question, not to panic about what are they saying in the room that you're not in, although you need to a little bit. But what is my one question for you today when you're thinking about the promise and the potential of the future you? Are you making it easy for people to choose you? Do they see your promise? Do they understand your potential? That is what we're going to talk about. So it is great to meet you all. And for those of you that I am meeting for the first time, I'm Joanna Bloor. I'm your potentialist and aspiring fairy godmother. I can already hear you go, like, what is this futentialism thing that Joanna is talking about? What the heck is a futentialist? I have not heard this word before. I know you are all getting to hear it for the first time. Well, I know Kelly has heard it a couple of times because we're playing around with it. But what are they? They are somebody who thinks about people and who they can be in our modern working world. Because I think how we've been thinking about people and how they are in the current working world is due for a little bit of a makeover. So we're going to start making that happen on a regular basis. Anyway, enough about me. Now I want to talk about you. And this whole idea and why you showed up or why you're watching all of this. But I have two questions for you today, or at least to start with, because you know me, I always have lots of questions. The first one is a bit of a mouthful, so I may mess it up, but let me give it a go. Is what you want to be wanted for professionally what you are wanted for? I must say it again because you're kind of like, wait, what? Is what you want to be wanted for what you are wanted for? My second question is what you aspire to be is what others want from you. I know, I feel like I just did a riddle. It still feels a little bit like a riddle, but it does sum up the questions that I'm also asking. And I know I just said one like 4 or 5 times. I did it on purpose because when you think about you and work and what you are offering to people, is you are renting or selling a subscription to your future time to people. And they want it. They go, I want that future time or not, right? And what you are wanted for is what they buy from you. So if you are stuck, bored, or scared in your career, it means that what you are wanted for or what others believe you could aspire to be is out of sync. And I'm going to unpack that even more and actually show you some graphics to think through that, because figuring out whether you are bored, stuck, or scared is going to help you figure out how to move into the space where professionally you are awesome. So here's what we're going to do first is I want to talk about that space first. I want you to go to that moment in your career where things really were amazing. And for those of you that haven't had a really long career and you're like, oh, I don't have any of those yet, that's fine. Go to like, when was the moment with either your friends or your family or your schoolmates, does not matter, where you loved what you were doing, your job, you really loved the people you were working with, and you loved where you were going with your job. How many of you, like just by a wave of hands, how many of you are like, I totally can think about that space and I'm always optimizing for that space? How many of you are in that space right now? No. Oh, we've got one hand. Woo! All right, Michelle, we'll come back to you because we've got stuff for you too. Kelly, I have to say, I'm a little sad your hand didn't go up. Little sad.
I meant to. I was just typing.
Bad boss. I'm failing as a boss.
No.
I'm failing. No, it's all good. Well, because I also think, well, no, I'm absolutely in the awesome space with a side of panic, a side of the scared, because I'm always a little bit nervous when I'm presenting new ideas and concepts to people, because you are all making a decision in a room I am not in. You are all, by showing up today or continuing to listen on the video, saying, do I think what Joanna's going to say in the next 60 seconds is worth hanging out for? And I share that to say, I'm just as scared as you are about sharing some of this stuff. And I practice what I preach. I understand that people are choosing me as much as you are choosing you, right? It's a bi-directional marketplace. Okay. Michelle, I know you are hiding behind a shutdown screen, but you are my one person who put their hand up. Kelly, I hope you're going to play along anyway. But even for those of you, if you go back to that moment that you remember, here are the 4 true statements about what was going on in your head during that period of time. 1, you knew why your work mattered. You understood how you could bring your awesome self to the table. You were being fantastically generous and saying, have all of me. I am fantastic. It's all good. 2, other people, the people around with you, your colleagues, your boss, whoever, recognize that why you mattered was important to the organization. So your perception of why you mattered and other people's perception of why you mattered were in sync, and everybody was happy about it. Here's the other thing, is you were also excited and curious about what it is you were going to do. And whether that was build a thing, learn a thing, grow a thing, change a thing, you were going to do something with these things that make you matter, that would either teach you something, intellectually stimulate you, hit a goal or accomplishment. Something was a next step on the ladder, that, or next step in your path, or next step in whatever that you were leaning towards. And here's the other thing. 4, everybody was excited for that, who you were going to get to be, who you were going to do as well. Both existed. So you were wanted for what you want to be wanted for. It's my riddles again. And you were manifesting an aspirations that others wanted for you too. You were awesome. They were awesome. It was awesome because all of those things were in alignment. And I sit here and I say, we are living in this world where when you run around and say, what should I optimize? What should I focus on? We are all being told to brainwash to focus on perfection, keywords, volume, how many likes, shares, links, blah, 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 blah has, title, all of those things. And in reality, what actually success look like doesn't look about any of those things. And when you focus on title, perfection, performance, etc., you are either diminishing why you are fantastic or over-promising on who you are. And if you're diminishing why you are fantastic, you are minimizing who you could be and why you are awesome, which I'm sad for you. And if you are over-promising, you are either running around going, oh, I am over-promising myself, or you're being a bit inauthentic, or you're selling a product that people are not going to be satisfied by because what you are selling does not align with what you can give. So I sit here and I say, stop worrying. I mean, I know if you're going through the job prospect thing and resumes, you have to deal with this. But if you are trying to take the step forward in your career, optimizing for the how you want to matter and how you want to aspire for things is actually the path. And I'm going to show you what I think is the magical intersection of success. It's when desirability, your aspirations, and your compensation, because yes, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to get paid, are all in sync. This is the beautiful moment. This is the thing we should all be going to. So you will never hear me say, oh, this is what you should do to your resume, or this is the one tip, because I don't know what you desire and I don't know what you aspire to. And what you both desire and aspire to is unique to you. And what other people in your orbit desire from you and aspire for you are unique to them. This is why there isn't a do these 10 steps and you will have a magical future. This is why your career is much more of an adventure than just this really simple path. This is why this gets really hard and complex. And this is why, if you're like me, you every so often, your head comes up off the desk and you go, well, hang on a second, what I desire and what I aspire to have changed. And it's time to me to change all of these. So I sit here and if there's anything that you take from today, it's look at your life, work, whatever. I actually like to look at both and go, is it what I desire? Is it what I aspire to? And am I getting paid for it? And the answers to all of those are yes. You are doing what you're supposed to do. If any of them are a little bit off, then you sit down and say, what is it I need to do to be able to move forward in the future? So I hope that was a helpful tool to just help you think about the future you. Okay. I'm guessing you're here because some of you might not actually feel that way. How many of you are like, yeah, not in that awesome space. This is why I'm here. Let me just see a little row of hands. Yeah, it's okay. It's generally why people show up to the show. It's absolutely why people call me and say, can we work together? Because I need a Sherpa to help me navigate out of that. But we are going to talk a little bit about how, the different states and what things you can do. So first of all, let me pull my graphic back up. I want to talk about the different states. So we've talked about awesome state, where things are like this. Others want from me what I have to offer, and what I am doing fulfills my personal aspirations. Fabulous. This is up and to the right. This up and to the right, I'm a big fan of. Then there are 3 other states that I have noticed. I'm going to talk about the first one, where I've got a nice little robot, because in the world of bored, it's because either, it says there, others want from me what I have to offer, but it's not what I want to offer. I should edit that. That doesn't sound very good. But basically, what you have to offer, somebody wants, but it's not what you want to give. This is where the bidirectional thing. So you feel like a robot. You feel like you are just being asked to get things done. You feel like there's no opportunity for growth. You feel like it's not inspiring. You feel like you're doing the same darn thing every single day, which is why I call it bored. And it's not, so no, it is what you have something to offer, but you're not excited about selling it anymore, right? And if you have led a team or worked with a team, if somebody in your team is bored, it is no bueno, not even close. Then I talk about stuck and scared. See, we changed this literally right before the show. Just pretend that the one that's pink says scared and not stuck, because we have a typo. When you're scared, which I'm a little in because I just made a big mistake. When you're in the scared space, you are hoping what you want to offer to people is what others want. But
Hey,
what
Joe,
you do, yes?
we can't see our screen.
Well, that would help. Here, you can now see my typos. There you go. I get so into this whole thing, I get distracted. Okay, so when you're stuck to the pink, That's when you're sitting here going, I hope it is what it is I'm supposed to do. And I know I'm filling my personal aspirations, but I'm not sure if they're buying what I'm selling. And think about what happens in your head when you're a little bit nervous. You either do that under promise, over promise thing. And then if you're stuck, it means you're actually both. You're not only sure and not entirely sure about what you're going to do, and you're not entirely sure where you want to go. And when I think about the idea of promise and potential, the promise is what can you give? The potential is who could I be? It's almost like you are holding generosity and ambition in the same hand, and focusing on those, and like, am I clear about what is that I want to give, and do people want it? And am I excited about my aspirations and where it's going to take me, and how do I share that too? That's how you manifest to awesome. Now, I'm going to give you a little pro tip right now. If you're in the pink stuck should be saying scared bucket, or you're in stuck, well, actually, if you're in stuck, focus on scared first. And I say focus on scared first, focus on the what is it I want to offer people? Because if you don't believe in you and you are not confident in you and you can't move out of stuck into awesome and go, you know what, actually, I have a really awesome thing that I can share, then actually optimizing for board is almost impossible. So you need to get into the space of things like actually people want me first, and then give yourself the space to say, okay, well, how can we change that? Now, I'm sure you're all like, okay, that's nice, but what if I'm in scared or bored? How do I start thinking about that? Um, there are all sorts of questions you can ask yourself. There are all sorts of things that you can do. But here's the thing, your potential for the future you and having discussions with people about potential is the antidote for bored. The promise of the future you is the balm for panic, is the medicine for scared. And how do you fix those things is the same answer. And it's ask other people. If you want to explore your potential, go find people who have seen your potential in the past and ask them what they see now. If you want to explore your promise, go ask people who are buying you today and ask them why. Because I'll come back to my original statement of every decision made about you and your opportunities is made in a room that you're not in, which means people are already choosing you. And when you think about what I was talking about earlier about, are you wanted for what you want to be wanted for? It's other people's perceptions of you that ultimately matter. It's why this is a bi-directional marketplace. So if you go through the Future You program or do the texting program, which we're going to talk about as well today, you will find out that one of the first things that I ask everybody to do, although on the texting thing, you have to do it for yourself. If you go through the Future You program with me directly, we actually do it all for you. So it's a little less scary. But I go out and I say, like, find people who are fans of you today and do some product market research on the product of you. And it's having those conversations which will help you identify where you have potential and the value of you, which is where is your promise. And in that, not only are you going to find out what those things are, but you are going to learn the language of other people, which then gives you what you can say to other people when you are trying to teach them about the future you. Does that make sense? It's very simple. I also understand those questions are sometimes a little scary to ask, which is why, and I know Kelly's going to drop this in the chat, we have the 2-week text challenge, again, starting on Monday. It's 3 texts a week, 3 different challenges. We take you through the whole thing where we're going to give you the questions you can ask. And sometimes even there's a template on what exactly to say. Or you can work with me directly, because there's a lot of people who are like, I need to double down in this area and I need to make it awesome. But it's actually asking those questions the first step, because once you can uncover that, then you can put some language around it. Now, the other thing I want you to be thoughtful of as you are asking these questions is what you are asking questions about is the future you and not the past you. not even the present you. Think about it. We, again, are all kind of taught to talk about, like, what have I done? And what are my accomplishments? And, oh, by the way, I value you. Your promise is because you're really good at getting shit done, or something to that effect. And by the way, if anybody tells you I value you because of your ability to get shit done, say, thank you very much. But that's a result. That doesn't talk about my potential and how I think. What you're telling me is that you trust that I will think through the problems clearly. And what I'm trying to figure out is, what is my thinking style? What are the patterns in my thinking? Because here's the other thing, and only because I know we might have a guy or two on the call, but for all of my lady friends, if you haven't heard me say it, if you are known for being a get shit done girl, you will only be given shit to do, like a robot. I do not think you want to be a robot. And I think you are here because you want to be in the room where decisions are being made, which means they need to understand how you think as much as what you do. Because think about what that room is choosing. They're choosing the past you, the present you, the future you. The past you, what you've done, your accomplishments. Super important, but also something you cannot change, right? Then there's the present you, which is who you are. Are you somebody who I would like to do future shenanigans? Can I collaborate with you? Are you the kind of personality that I want to roll with? Also, in my opinion, it's something that cannot be changed. I don't know about the rest of you, but my 8-year-old self is still raging inside me. She is not going to change anytime soon, as much as people keep going, here are your weaknesses. And I go, she is who she is. Remember that awesome state? It's when they buy you exactly for who you are, even if you might be a bit to this or to that. Like, stop saying no to that and lean into it. The future you is their belief in the promise and potential of who you will be tomorrow, and what do they think you can do in the future. And that's the thing. I keep talking about this idea of the future you. I keep talking about the promise and potential, but it is the thing that people choose. It's also, when you go back to when things were awesome for you, it's the thing that you chose. Because when you were awesome, well, yes, your compensation mattered a bit and your title mattered a bit and all of those sorts of things. The promise and potential and the opportunity that you were working on was why you loved it. So if you're still going, really, it's other people's opinions, just put your own heart in their heart for just a second and remember that is what they're doing, and they are buying your future time. So think about how you are articulating that. Don't start rabbiting on about what you've done and your stickers and your badges and all that stuff. Plus, quite frankly, that just sounds a little braggadocious, right? Nobody loves that. But if you start talking about how you think and how you can solve problems and who you will be in the future, then people go from curious to intrigued, which is ultimately what you want to do. So let me, I already did the demo with the graphic. Let me actually stop there for a second, because I want to give you some real life scenarios for just a second and give some transformational work so you can see kind of at speed what I'm talking about. So Kelly, we had a couple of people who were like, I have questions. I want to volunteer to be one of the Joanna transformations. Who did we have today?
Let me unmute. That would make it easier. We have Aaron and Elena. They both had questions today.
Who'd like to go first? Aaron, I see you with the bridge, and Elena with the very groovy in navy blue house. Love this. I'm just going to make a call. Elena, are you up for it?
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's do this.
FYI, reminder to the folks who were like, wait a second, they got to be in the line first, and how did this happen? When we send out invitations to the show, Kelly puts a little thing in there saying, hey, if you want to raise your hand, now is the time. Although we will have a Q&A session afterwards, so we'll do that. Okay, so Elena, what's your situation? Why do we need to teach somebody about the future you? Like, what's going on?
So I changed jobs recently at the beginning of the year, and I'm not getting the usual traction that I used to get in other jobs at this one. It's a very different industry. I had to learn a lot of new things. I try to use my magic, but looks like my magic, although very valued by my manager, I'm struggling to get that valuation from the rest of the company.
Okay. What is your magic?
My magic is that I'm very creative and I'm great at storytelling.
Okay. And what did it, just so I can put some boundaries around it, what is your job? Like, what did they hire you to do? Tell stories around something?
I do product marketing.
Okay.
And I do product marketing for tech. So I take very boring and convoluted tech specs and transform it into something that is valuable for our customer and something that a customer can fully understand.
Okay.
So they give me features and benefits. I translate that into value.
Hang on. I'm drawing things as you're taking notes. Okay. And why are you really, so you do that through storytelling, but why are you really good at that?
Because I think I have very good empathy into understanding what someone is going through and making that connection and unveiling the magic in the products that I work for and making that connection between the pain of someone and the magic that I'm selling.
Okay. Okay. And so let's talk about your unique situation. Who's giving you a hard time? Like, what are the roles? You don't have to name names here. Is it the product people who don't get that how their products are being positioned? Or is it like, they don't get why product marketing needs to exist? Or like, why do you think they're not buying it?
So from the product side, I have some passive, like, sure, whatever. I have some fans, which are the best.
Yep.
And then I have a big challenge with customer success because they think that I'm getting in the way. They already had a conversation with product and they don't see why I'm kind of being that middle person there. But the thing is that they are not getting much traction because they are not translating what the product team is telling them into a story that a customer will value. So they need help, but they don't recognize that they need help. There are some egos going on as well.
Yeah.
So that's tough. And it's the very first time that this position, my role, exists in the company. So I need to sell their role and myself.
Okay. We have nailed the problem, right? Is while your boss has bought the future you, the company has not.
Correct.
And so I would say, how have you been showing your value up until now with these people?
So that's my problem. I've been handing help to them in a way that they have been thinking that is coming from them, because that is the way that I've been able to deliver something that my boss was asking me to do.
Do you want to keep doing that? That feels kind of icky, doesn't it?
Right? I don't, because then somebody else is like claiming that win instead of me.
It's making, like, it's not sustainable, like, because that intersection of like, you've got to want to give it, you've also got to want, like, they've got to want to take it, you've also got to want to give it, because awesome doesn't happen. Like, you're going to get bored in about 10 seconds, right?
Yep.
The other thing, hang on a second. Because there was, as I was talking to you, I was like, okay, how do we teach people why you were awesome? And I drew, if you have not been before, I love me a Venn diagram, because look at what, and I know I've scratched stuff out and this is a really ugly picture, but I originally wrote value in the top one. So what is it you do? You actually identify the magic. Then the why is this circle right here. Why do you do it? Because you are finding the pain, you're solving the pain of someone, which originally I wrote empathy, but Lots of people say empathy, especially the storyteller people. And I think that's boring. And you don't want to be boring. And then I was trying to debate on what to put in this third circle. And I wrote down before the sale, because you are, as a product marketing manager, you are teaching people before, as opposed to reacting to afterwards, which is what the customer service team does, correct? Is that a fair differentiator?
Yes, although there are some products that are meant to be adopted only by existing customers. So that is what CS is also kind of bringing there.
Gotcha. Well, so, but because we eventually got down to the objection really is they don't think they need you.
Yes.
You actually have to overcome that objection first.
Yep.
Agreed. Right? And I think if you continue to try to convince them that you're good at what you do, you're actually going to end up in a path where it'll make it harder rather than easier to solve it. So actually coming back to them. And so first of all, so I always look at everything. So I come back to my every decision made about you and made in a room that you're not in, and they're choosing you. Like, this is a sales process in its truest sense. And I'm sure you know this from doing product marketing. Like, if you know that there's an objection upfront, handle the objection. Call it out, because if you say it out loud, because they're saying it in their head, if you say it out loud, then they're not going to be able to say it anymore. It puts it out on the table. It's like actually naming the elephant in the room. Now, you don't need to come to them like all bristly and like, oh, y'all a bunch of assholes, da, 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 da. Not at all, right?
I'm tempted though.
You may just have to walk a little more gently back if you're going to, because you've got, like, you can't be awesome if you don't help them see the value of your future time. And so coming back to them, and I'm just going to riff for a second, and there's probably more to it than this, but coming back to them and saying, look, you know what? I realized we started off on the wrong foot because I came in telling you what I was going to do, as opposed to helping you understand how I think and how that could be helpful to our customers, both the ones we have and the ones we don't. And so I'd like you to understand how I think about talking about products, and then understand how you think about talk about products, so we can kind of look at them both and see what works best and how we think about this for our customers. Because you need to actually, they need to hear first before you can teach. Sounds like they're not all of them willing to hear. And I would absolutely, because I know lots of you are probably like, why aren't you going to your boss and telling your boss to tell them that they need to listen to you? Oh, no.
No, I don't want to do that.
No, you want to do that. So you're going to have to eat like a big, giant slice of humble pie. Super sorry.
Yeah. Funny enough, I'm getting very good traction with the women, not getting good traction with the males.
Well, because potential is infinitely...
It's a very male-dominated business.
Right. But, well, so don't get mad. You just have to remember that potential is infinitely easier to recognize when it looks and sounds like you. Right? Which is why you're getting traction with the women. So you've got two things you can do. Is one, again, call it out with the guys and say, look, I totally get it. Potential is infinitely easier to recognize when it looks and sounds like you. And I don't look and sound like you guys. So you're having a hard time kind of seeing who it is. So can we talk about how you look at customer stories? Because I want to understand how you look at it. What's the movie that plays in your mind versus the movie that plays in mine? And then you'll get language around how they think about it. All of those sorts of things. Now, what you don't know is culturally, are there internal politics at the company? And is this normal operating procedure? And is it all of those sorts of things? I'd keep an eye out for that too. Because if they're not open, then that's a conversation to have back with your boss and come back home and say, look, here's where I help them understand, not by showing, but having empathy for them. Like, take them through your product marketing process with them. Like, like a really great way, just as a thought, a really great way of doing that is like, I want to teach you how I think. And so, and on an individual by individual basis, say, look, you are a product too. Let me show you how I think about communication with you as the product. And actually do your do what you would do against a product against them. Because there's not a person, like, let me just tell you this little tip for free. Pretty much everybody I do a makeover on goes, oh my God, I love Joanna. She's awesome. Because I tell them that they are awesome. There's not a human being on the planet that doesn't love it. It's not why I do it. I want them to learn how to brag about them. Well, I want all of you to find that line between humility and confidence, between ambition and generosity, between confidence and overconfidence.
Yeah.
Because in that line, you are giving your best self. And if you do anything less than that, you're diminishing the fabulousness of you, and that's a bummer. And if you go over that line, you are then bragging about yourself, you're overpromising, people start getting icky. And so again, like I think about the optimize to the right, it is about bringing yourself right up to that line. And I think you could use your skills as a product marketer, because that's what I do for human beings, to help them see how the conversation changes. But I think you can anchor it in this idea that like your North Stars are finding the magic. And I could see how people would react badly to the conversation about value, that I take features and
I actually have that on my LinkedIn.
The magic?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so talk about, like, use that language. I know it sounds wooey and feminine and girly, but it's you. Yeah. Plus, if somebody said to me, hey, I take what you create and take the features, which nobody likes, and make them into value, I'm like, but it already is value. I don't understand. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is then when you can have, well, because the empathy conversation is, I know we all think it's awesome, but I actually have to walk in the shoes of the other person. And when you walk in the shoes of the other person, it's actually closing for them rather than closing for us. Well, there you go. Should rewatch the show, because that sentence right there is how you can talk about why you're awesome. Helpful? Do you feel like
very helpful?
Tiny bit of a plan?
Thank you, Joanna.
Awesome. All right, Erin. She's all like, no, I'm scared. What's Joanna going to say? It's your turn.
My turn. Great.
Give us your situation. What's going on? How can we help?
Yep. So I am a technical product manager. And
so you're the person that the PM, I gotcha.
Yep. I'm the problem. Half the problem. No,
I'm sure you're not.
I am currently looking for new opportunities at a different company.
Okay.
So I'm like in early stages with sort of a few companies and still exploring what's out there to try to find.
And where are you, in which box are you? Are you bored? Well, you're obviously bored if you're looking for a new job, but what's the obstacle?
Yeah. Which box am I in? Yeah, I think I don't have like a future at my current company. So the aspiration part is really
it's not
missing.
There.
And also I think there's a mismatch between on the wanting part between my kind of peer partners who I work with and my leadership. I think that what they each want from me is different, and I'm better at one than the other.
And do you want that to be in sync in your future state?
Yes.
So let me ask you the question. What is it you want to be wanted for?
So I think that when I wrote down these questions when you said them earlier, I think the other way of framing that is like, what do I love doing? Like, what do I want to spend?
I love sitting by the pool, eating bonbons and playing with my puppy.
Yeah, not that. I'm talking about like useful things.
Okay.
I mean,
very useful sitting by the pool eating bonbons, but keep going.
All right, sure. Then that compensation circle becomes a different problem. Anyway, so the things that I want to be wanted for, the things that I like, is I'm someone who can I think of myself as like a strong systems thinker. So I'm good at gathering information and forming mental models and linking those systems in my mind, both at a high level to like the company goals, and seeing kind of dependencies on other systems within the organization. But I'm also someone who dives in really deep to the details. And so I have also a very detailed mental model of whatever system I'm working on.
Okay.
To the point where the engineers that I work with kind of respect that I understand like
Those
the
that they get you. Okay.
implications of things that we're
And
working
only because you haven't told me, like, is the systems thinker you of the two? You talked about your peers and then your leadership. I don't know which one it is that doesn't want you for what you want to be wanted for. But for the ones that want you for what you are wanted for, is that what they want you for?
Yes, some of them.
Okay, let's not worry about them.
Yeah.
Who thinks you're a genius and thinks you are the bomb diggity and basically would hire you tomorrow?
My main engineering partner that I work with.
Okay. And does he love, I assume I'm totally making an
Is a
assumption.
he.
Yes,
Yeah.
loves the fact that you're a systems thinker.
Yes.
What else does he love?
The parts I like or the parts I don't like?
No, the parts, well, that's actually the parts you like.
Okay. He loves that I can take a whole bunch of conversations that we've been having and sort of synthesize it into one clear statement. And he goes, that's so much clearer. Thank you for summarizing that. That's how we should talk to people about this outside of our group.
Okay.
He also loves that he can trust me to represent him in rooms that he's not in. Because he knows that I understand the technical implications of things that he's being asked to do. And I think he also appreciates that I can use that understanding to set forth a pragmatic vision for how to move forward. And like, as a product manager, the goals that I set and the things that I prioritize are like, we don't have to have this long back and forth about whether that's a reasonable goal or a feasible goal. Like, I already am going to filter that myself. And so it's a more efficient process.
Okay. You got a double picture.
Oh boy.
Right? So let's go to this one first. The systems thinker, synthesizer, pragmatic vision person. Is that a product that you want to sell? Because that person creates the possible future for products.
Yeah.
Is this a product you want to sell? Is this you?
This feels like a trick question.
No, you can
so.
tell me this isn't me, and there's a whole big chunk that's not in here that's actually more important to you. But if
that is what that resonates with me.
Okay. This is what you take to market in your interviews. And literally, and I know lots of you have seen me do this, when you go into your interview, you have a little notepad, or if you're in a virtual thing, you do what I'm doing right now, which is you hold your little notepad, even with the crappy drawing, because people remember visuals far more than they do the written word. And you talk them through and you say, look, as a product, because people already have a story. Elena will tell you as our storyteller in the room, people already have a story around what a product manager, technical product manager is. They've written a job description for it. They fully have a story. So they're not asking you about, they are going to ask you about what you've done and what you've built. But when you open that conversation, you say, look, if I'm in an interview, you've already seen that I qualify for I have all of the qualifications. And what I'm trying to teach you in this conversation is how I think, because that's who you'll get tomorrow. For those of you that don't believe, think about the last interview you had. If somebody opened and I know this is a bit forward, but if somebody opened with, I want to teach you how I think because that's who you get tomorrow, you'd be all like, oh my God, what? I know as a hiring manager, I always wanted to know this. And then you draw your crappy circles with your things. You can be ultra, especially if you're a creative person, and actually make it look beautiful. You do not need to, because this is equally as effective. And you go, okay, so there's 3 things you need to know. Like, there's a lot you need to know about, but here are the 3 that I think are the most important, because this is who I bring to work every single day. 1, I bring a systems thinker to the table. And what I mean by that is it's somebody who can see all of the interconnected pieces from end to end, which means I need to be able to see the big picture and the little picture. And more importantly, what happens if you tweak one of the little picture things? How does it adjust the bigger picture? That's what a systems thinker does. Second thing is I'm a synthesizer, and it's actually a critical part of my job, because when you're working with engineering and you're working with people who want something new, synthesizing what is actually what we are trying to do and distilling it down to the most simple concept is critical, because that, if you don't, you end up with scope creep, you end up with missed expectations, you end up with confusion, and generally you end up with a really pissed off organization. And then last but not least, how do you create trust from both the builders and the sellers, and do that using what I call a pragmatic vision approach? My job is to be that tension between what we should do and what we can do and what we could do. And I create all of those things to ultimately create a possible future. Because as a technical product manager, that's ultimately what my remit is. So that's a really great introduction to me. Let me give you, or send you a photograph if you're in the digital world, a copy of this, because this is who shows up every single day. And so I want you to have this as part of the tools that you have to decide whether you want to choose the future me. Yes, we recorded all of that. Yes, it will be up on Tuesday. All the things. Helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you added that word trust in. I think that makes that pragmatism part really, like, why that's valuable.
I always think about, when I'm going through this, I'm unpacking the Joanna brain here. I'm always thinking about, why is it important for you? Like, why do you care, and why do they care? Mm-hmm. Every single time I talk about that. And I only ever do 3, because yes, you are all the words. You're also fun to work with, and you probably, I don't know, do a good game of pickleball or something like that. It's a bunch of stuff that people can learn for you. But what is thinking, Erin, that will show up is critically important. Now, the challenge I have for you is, 1, is this still right? And going out there, and for the people who already love and know you, is this an agreement? And that's when you get the what you want to be wanted for is what you are wanted for is actually a true statement.
Right. Thank you.
No problem. All right. I am going to get into really quickly how you can, like, what can you do next? If some of this you were like, oh, I wanted to volunteer, I wanted to do all the things. You can, of course, reach out to us anytime at hello@the-Amplify Lab, even if you're in the awesome space. I think in the awesome space, our jobs, I'm there to help other people to get into that awesome space. It would be great. If you are, see, I got my words right here. If you're bored, this one takes a little bit more work and effort and probably some analysis. We do have the Future You program. Kelly's going to be dropping links to all of this in the chat, and we're going to be sending it afterwards. This is if you want to work with me directly. It's fairly intensive. We do a lot of exercises. It's super fun, and it makes all sorts of magic things happen. If you are in scared status, I want you to start experimenting and building yourself some confidence. And we have the 2 weeks program that I was talking about earlier. And I am so confident in the ability for you to say, oh, I actually feel better about myself, that we give you a money back guarantee on the 2-week program. It's a whopping $10. You get texts from me. I respond, all the things. And basically, there are 2 people who take the text program. The ones who take all the challenges and then say nothing, and I have no idea. And the ones who write back and go, oh my God, this happened. And so, which is why I'm comfortable with the guarantee. And then last but not least, if you're interested, we always, as you know, host the show every other Friday. Kelly, what are we talking about in 2 weeks? I don't even remember. I should have remembered that.
Let me unmute you again. So next week, well, it's not, in 2 weeks, on the 8th, is Why Are You Awesome? How to Find Out Without It Feeling Weird.
Yeah, we're going to talk about product market research in a big way. We are doing some activities there as well. Last thing, Kelly, while you're still on mute, especially for those who have not been to the show before, as you know, we give away, well, it is a 30-minute one-on-one session, but you also have to go through the analysis part. So we're going to make you do stuff. But who is our winner today?
Today's winner is Tracy.
Yay! Tracy. Kelly's going to be reaching out to you because we've got stuff we need you to fill out. And then I'm going to reach out to you. And guess what? I'm going to make you ask people why you are awesome and make you do some research, or actually go through our program and how we do research about you before you get some time with me, because I need to know the answer. I don't want to waste time on why you are awesome. We're going to find out from other people. And then when you get on the call, we're going to do some one-on-one work and you'll get to see what one-on-one with Joanna looks like. It's super fun.
That is amazing. One quick note, future me is traveling all of August. Yay!
Well, I am full on
jealous.
Yeah. Hang on, important. Where are we going?
Well, we have a North Carolina lake house with my boys, and then I am going to Croatia for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'm even more jealous now.
So
I'm full on jealous. I'm just going to put it out there.
I know.
Croatia is
talk offline to see what the right timing is.
No, so there's no rush on this. Kelly's going to send you the stuff. You're going to send some stuff back. You tell us when you're ready. We put you in the list. And eventually, there are absolutely people who have hung out and held this. It's fine. So no rush. We don't have a deadline. You tell us when you're back from basically being fabulous and doing that. I will challenge you on your vacation, however, to think about the answer to the question, what is it you want to be wanted for? Like on the coast of Croatia, like a journal or something, 5 minutes on all of that. Awesome.
Done.
So those of you that are here, stick around because we are going to open up for some more. Oh, we've only got like 4 minutes left. This is my problem. I go on too long. Some more Q&A. If people still have questions, we're going to hang out. For those of you that are watching online, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you want to get announcements on new content coming up.